stories, through parables, through examples, through the lives of Rama, Krishna. Swami has explained that in detail. We did not go into everything, but we just stuck to what Bhagwan gave as a reply to Mr. Karanjia. And that itself, we have been trying the last 1 hour to just dive deep. And Swami very clearly says that, the purpose of the divine coming in a human form is to ensure that God incarnates in man, and so that man feels kinship with God, so that God can take man to godly heights. And then Bhagwan goes on to say that man must realize that the inner motivator of everything in his life, of his entire existence, is God. And then man makes those course corrections. Ultimately, it is for man to learn to divinize his life. And the way God does it, I think we discussed through so many examples. And how Bhagwan said that the only purpose God has, the only desire God has, is to make everyone desireless. And one little story also just comes to my mind now. This was the time when Bhagwan was giving discourses on Bhagavad Gita, 1984 series, in the Bhajan Hall, when Swami was speaking continuously. It was really a treasure trove. Even now we go back to those Bhagavad Gita discourses. There was one occasion in the college, one of their teachers, they were discussing among themselves, two professors, and they were saying that, Swami says that it is mentioned in the Bhagavad Gita, God comes down to protect dharma, God comes down for the restoration of dharma. But if you look at the succession of yugas, in the Treta Yuga, Satya Yuga, then Treta Yuga, then Dwapar Yuga, then Kali Yuga, you see God has come again and again, but every time there has been a decline of dharma. So what is this whole purpose when the divine says that he has come to restore dharma? If they say that dharma was walking on 4 legs in Satya Yuga, then it is walking in 3 legs, then it is walking on 2 legs in Dwapar Yuga, and Kali Yuga, it is struggling to stand on 1 leg. So what is this? How do we understand this when Lord Krishna declares that I have come for the restoration of dharma? And they could not find any answer, but it seemed like a very, very interesting question. And so next day when Bhagwan was giving the next discourse on Bhagavad Gita in the Bhajan Hall, very interestingly, Swami, midway through the discourse on Bhagavad Gita, Swami stopped and Swami shifted gears, and Swami said, there are some people who think that what is the purpose of the divine? If the divine has come for dharma sthapana and dharma glani only is happening, if there is only reduction of righteousness, then what is the purpose of the divine? And there Swami makes it very clear. Swami says there is something called Deha Dharma, there is something called Deva Dharma. God does not come for Deha Dharma. Deha Dharma is what concerns the body, and the body is something that is not permanent. The body is something that keeps changing all the time. God does not come for something that is so transient. Swami said, God comes down only for Daiva Dharma. And what is the Daiva Dharma? Swami says, the only Daiva Dharma is Prema Dharma. The divine comes down so that everyone learns to discover the path of love to God. And I think that is such a powerful message for us to reflect on. If you look at, Ramayana, because Rama came, we have so many stories of, be it Hanuman, be it Vibhishana, be it Shabari. Because Lord Krishna came, we have the stories of Gopikas, you have the story of Sudama. Because Bhagwan came, we have the stories of so many devotees. And these are beacons of inspiration for us. They have helped us to walk on that highway of love. And I think that is what the divine does, and that is a beautiful purpose of the avatar. Whether the avatar is there in the physical form or not, those stories are eternal, and those stories continue to inspire us. And that is the most beautiful part of God coming in a form, in a human form like you and me. And in the last part of this answer that Swami gives Mr. Karanjia, Swami says, those who want to secure pearls from the sea have to dive deep to fetch them. It does not help to dabble among the shallow waves near the shore and say that the sea does not have any pearls. If a person wants to secure the love and grace of the avatar, he or she must dive deep and get submerged in Sai. Only then will you become one with me and carry me in your innermost heart. Swami says, I told you in the beginning, Professor Kasturi so beautifully names this last chapter of Satyam Sham Sundaram as dabbling and diving. And I think this is what Bhagwan is saying, that if we want to know Bhagwan, if we want to experience Swami, if we want to experience what is Sri Satya Sai, we cannot dabble. We have to dive deep. And I think that is what Bhagwan always asks us to do, whether it is Shravanam, Mananam, Nididhyasanam, Swadhyaya, any sadhana, it is only for us to dive deep. So that was the first question of, why God takes the human form. Let's move on to the second question. So Mr. Karanjia asked,